Palestine, at least 12 people, including 3 children, were killed during a shelling carried out by the Israeli occupation forces in the southern Gaza Strip. In Puerto Rico, 98% of power has been restored after a massive blackout that affected 90% of the country's customers. As of January 1st, Ghana allows visa-free entry to citizens from all African countries. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, at least 12 people, including 3 children, were killed during a shelling carried out by the Israeli occupation forces in the southern Gaza Strip. According to local media, this new attack targeted tens of displaced people located in the so-called humanitarian zone of Al-Mawasi, leaving also 15 people injured. In this sense, the Palestinian Authorities sent civil protection teams and medical personnel to the place to recover the bodies and assess the wounded. In addition, it was confirmed that the Director General of the Palestinian Police in the Gaza Strip, Mahmoud Salah, was killed in the airstrike perpetrated by the Israeli Zionist army.
I went to the place of the attack and found wounded people on the ground. Most of them were children, as well as 2 women martyrs.
You call these safe areas? We came here on the basis that this is a safe area, but we came here for nothing. There is no safe area. What can we do? Let Arab countries do something. We don't want food, we don't want water, we just want an end to the bloodshed here. We want the killing of children to stop. What have they done to deserve this?
We stay in Palestine as early Thursday morning, the Israeli force conducted raids in the occupied West Bank, arresting several Palestinian citizens. According to the Wafa news agency, the military arrested a young man in the village of Kafr Khalil in the Nablus Governorate after raiding his house and confiscating his vehicle. Soldiers also entered the neighborhoods in Nablus City and Al Ain refugee camp. Meanwhile, 2 Palestinians were arrested in the nearby city of Qalqilia, 3 more in Bethlehem, and another in the village of Beit Fayyar. Since the onslaught of the Israeli offensive against Palestine in October 2023, more than 12,000 people have been detained by the Zionist army in the occupied West Bank.
They demolished this house, which housed a family of 7. My son, who is arrested, doesn't own a house to himself. Just like his siblings, he was living in this house, but he didn't own it.
It hurts because we're living this injustice, and it feels like such injustice doesn't exist anywhere else in the whole world. This injustice continues and no one is calling them out for it. No one is punishing them. Someone needs to stand up to them, to stop them and call them out for their actions.
The Center for the Protection of Palestinian Journalists once again called on the international community, especially the United Nations, to stop Israeli attacks against journalists in the Gaza Strip. In a communique, the entity warned that the number of professionals killed in the coastal enclave since October 2023 represents 3 times the number of communicators killed during the Second World War. They also warned that the high number of journalists killed in Gaza will have long-term effects in Palestine. In this regard, they stressed that the world must assume its responsibilities and take decisive action to stop Israeli violations and ensure respect for human rights in the occupied territories. Lebanon reports systematic violations by Israel of the ceasefire agreement in force since November 27, 2024. The Tel Aviv forces carried out illegal military operations, raiding houses and invading neighborhoods in the southern Lebanon. The Zionist troops also reportedly bombarded the towns of Beit Lev and Yader with rockets. In the face of this violation of the ceasefire, the Hezbollah resistance movement reaffirmed the firmness of its militancy in the struggle against the Israeli enemy. On Thursday, Indian authorities removed hundreds of tons of toxic waste, remaining for over 40 years after the world's deadliest industrial disaster struck in the city of Bhopal. Around a dozen trucks carried the 337 tons of waste in a slow convoy to the disposal site, some 225 kilometers away at Pitharmur town. According to State Gas Relief and Rehabilitation Department Director Stawantra Kumar Singh, the convoy has been fortified with the highest security protocol ever witnessed in the movement of industrial waste in the country. For decades, people blamed a high level of sickness on groundwater pollution after the toxic gas leak from the Union Carbide factory in December 1984. Therefore, this initiative by the Indian authorities will substantially improve the living conditions of the communities near the disaster area. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Puerto Rico, 98% of power has been restored after a massive blackout that affected 90% of the country's customers. Precisely, Luma Energy, the private company that oversees energy distribution in the nation, has announced that service has been restored to 100% of customers in the regions of Bayamón, Caguas and San Juan, while work continues to fully reestablish the service in the remaining areas. The figure represents an improvement from Wednesday, when 77% of customers had electricity, and an unexplained disconnection of the Palo Seco and Aguirre power stations led to a new blackout. The incident, which Luma's preliminary check blames on a fault in a subway power line to the south, adds on the ongoing energy problems the Caribbean nation has been facing in recent years. In Honduras, President Xiomara Castro warned on Wednesday that she will force out U.S. military bases if President-elect Donald Trump orders massive deportations of Hondurans when he takes office on January 20th.
Quiero manifestar que esperamos que la nueva administración norteamericana del presidente electo.
To the Honduran people, I would like to say that we hope that the new U.S. administration of the democratically elected President Donald Trump is open to constructive and friendly dialogue and does not take unnecessary reprisals against our migrants, who usually make a great contribution to the U.S. economy. In the face of a hostile attitude of mass deportation of our people, we will have to consider changing our policy of cooperation with the United States, especially in the military field, where for decades they have maintained military bases in our territory without paying a penny, which in this case will lose all reasons to exist in Honduras.
In the United States, the number of people dead after a mass shooting in New Orleans rose to 15 during the course of the day. The authorities have qualified the event as a terrorist attack. Some 30 people were injured in the attack, which occurred when the driver of a pickup truck mowed down dozens of people of downtown Bourbon Street, the tourist heart of the city, and closed to traffic during New Year's celebrations. After charging into the crowd, the attacker got out of his vehicle and began firing a gun. The authorities identified the perpetrator as Shasum Din Bahar Shabar, a 42-year-old U.S. citizen who was shot dead by police. In this context, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, stated that the alleged perpetrator of the mass shooting had served in the U.S. Army and was inspired by the Islamic State.
The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill, The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack.
Cuba commemorates the 66th anniversary of the departure of the Freedom Caravan of the rebel army led by Fidel Castro in 1959. Media, social and political organizations, as well as people in general, remember the date that marks a milestone in the history of the Caribbean island. The caravan departed on January 2nd from the city of Santiago de Cuba to the Cuban capital on a journey of more than 1,000 kilometers, which ended on January 8th. The event signified the first direct encounter between the Cuban people and the guerrilla leader, who later would build a socialist project of world reference. After entering the capital, Fidel Castro proclaimed victory over the troops of Fulgencio Batista's regime, proving that long-deferred dreams of social justice can be fulfilled with revolutionary unity. Hungarian gymnast Agnes Keleti, the oldest living Olympic medal winner, passed away on January 2nd at the age of 103. Born in Budapest in 1921, Keleti won her first Hungarian championship in 1940. The gymnast survived the Holocaust during World War II by hiding in the countryside but lost family members to the Nazi concentration camps. She went on to win her first Olympic gold at the Helsinki Games in 1952 and then won 4 more at the Melbourne in 1956, becoming at 35 the oldest female gymnast to ever earn the coveted medal. Kelly's press official informed of her passing on Thursday due to pneumonia. Of her legacy, the president of International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, said she has demonstrated the power of a strong determination and courage to overcome tragedy. And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Find a short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In South Korea, demonstrators gathered in front of the residence of ousted President Yoon Suk-yeol on Thursday as the former head of state continues to resist arrest for a third day following his impeachment over a failed martial law declared on December 3rd. This way, Yoon's legal team warned that police officers attempting to detain him could be arrested by his presidential security service or even civilians. In this context, the ousted president issued a message to his supporters, vowing to fight to the end. The Seoul's court order of detention issued after he evaded multiple requests to appear and obstructed an investigation into whether his brief seizure of power on December 3rd amounted to a rebellion. In China, import tariffs have been lowered to increase domestic demand and stimulate the economy. The authorities announced that they will apply provisional import tariffs, which are lower than most favored nations' tariffs on 935 products, as part of an annual tariff adjustment plan. On the other hand, import tariffs on some goods will be raised to support the development of domestic industries. Economist Tian Yun pointed out that China's largest liberalization as the main ally of more than 150 countries in the world opens up new opportunities for developing countries. In Vietnam, local authorities reported about 51 traffic accidents nationwide on the first day of the new year 2025. The National Traffic Department detailed that around 28 people were reported dead and 35 injured as a result of the incidents, most of which took place on the roads, while only one occurred on the railway, killing 1 person. In this regard, during the day, the traffic police forces inspected and detected at least 13,591 infractions, imposing fines for a total amount of 1,100,000 $120,000. In addition, 82 automobiles and more than 4,000 motorcycles were temporarily confiscated, and around 2,603 driver's licenses were revoked. On Thursday, Montenegro declared 3 days of national mourning, a day after a gunman went on a rampage, killing 12 people, including 2 children. The streets of Sentinje and Bajise, the towns where the incident took place, were deserted on Thursday morning, and a police patrol was stationed in front of the gunman's house at the entry of the village. Meanwhile, in the country's capital, Mayor Sasa Mujovic said that candles would be lit for the victims at the main square of the city on Thursday evening. On the other hand, Prime Minister Milojko Spajic labeled the shootings as a terrible tragedy and stressed that it should lead to a review of the country's gun ownership laws.
I came out for an investigation at 6 different locations. So we had 6 crime scenes. We established that 12 people have been killed, including 2 children.
What I can tell you this morning about the patient's condition in our hospital is that 3 of them, 2 male and 1 female, are in stable condition. They had surgeries last night. This morning they woke up and have been detached from a machine that helps them breathe. The 4th patient is in an extremely critical condition. He sustained head injuries. Surgeons have operated on him with the help of other surgical teams.
Italian authorities continue the search for 20 missing people, including 5 women and 3 children, off the coast of Lampedusa after attempting to cross the Mediterranean Sea. The youngest among the survivors is an 8-year-old Syrian boy who lost his mother in the shipwreck and is now under the temporary custody of the Juvenile Court of Palermo, while his remaining relatives are reached. For 2024, UNICEF reported that the number of people killed and missing while attempting to cross the Mediterranean Sea exceeded 2,200, with 1,700 lives lost on the central Mediterranean route alone. In this regard, the director of UNICEF Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia, Regina De Dominis, stressed hundreds of children were among the victims. As of January 1st, Ghana is allowing visa-free entry to citizens from all African countries in a move aimed at building stronger ties among the continent. The measure comes after President Nana Akufo-Addo pledged to make it reality early in the year during the 2024 Africa Prosperity Dialogues, effectively approving the action later in December. The new approach is expected to increase tourism, trade and travel to the West African country, as analysts have previously pointed to visa restrictions as an obstacle to these sectors. With the move, Ghana then becomes the 5th nation on the continent to allow the entry of all African passport holders after Rwanda, the Seychelles, the Gambia and Benin. In Nigeria, the capital metropolis of Lagos hosted the Fanti Carnival on January 1st, a yearly tradition that welcomes the new year by celebrating the diverse blend of the city's Brazilian and Cuban heritage. Also known as Careta Carnival, this is a 19th century tradition brought by returnee slaves from Latin American countries, mostly from Brazil and Cuba, making it a unique fusion of 2 continents' cultural heritage. Usually celebrated on the first day of the year, the event is the biggest of its type in West Africa, renowned as an inclusive festival with no discriminatory tendencies, where people dress up with costumes to dance in a colorful display of the shared rich culture.
We are celebrating it because it's a new beginning. We want to start afresh. We have done a lot of things in the past. So we are using this opportunity to unite ourselves, to try to look for something even more better than what we have been doing in the past.
The key aspect of the celebration is that everyone comes home. We deliberate and there is progress in the community. Young ones who intend to go to the university for higher learning receive support from our kinsmen who teach in those education centers.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.